Hey team, welcome back. This video is all geared up a look at elf mages and the two styles of them. So first of all, technically if you are an elf mage, this means you lead with introverted thinking as your dominant function. It's how you want to live in the world. Your most comfortable state is within your mind. Technically, you are an ITP in the MBTI system. So this means you lead with introverted thinking, and then you support that with your auxiliary function of extroverted perceiving. And the other option in your tertiary function is introverted perceiving. So perceiving is sensing or intuition. And then your inferior function would be extroverted feeling. So elf mages enchant their weapons with a warrior or a hunter enchantment. And in this video, we will look at both of those. First of all, elf mages, introverted thinkers, some keys to the elf mage. They make holistic models of complex systems. So they're looking at the model of how all the pieces fit together to make the actual thing go and make it work. So it's a holistic understanding of how things work in a technical sense. They like to improve systems, whereas the dwarf mage would make new systems to meet an end. The elf mage would rather make it work better, kind of rebuild it and fix it up and make it smoother, make it more efficient. They make sense of data. You can give a lot of data to an elf mage and they'll perfectly understand it, especially if it's that logical kind of facts and numbers and all that stuff that I am not good with. And they search for logical accuracy, so within their wording and their phrases that they choose and their just understanding of things, they're looking for the most accurate interpretation of it. It's not an interpretation, actually. It's the actual accurate word. Okay, so like if they don't know a word, they'll look it up on Google because they need to understand it. If it's, it could be just a concept too. They can look it up and find it and be ready to use that in the situation and then store it in their minds for the next time. And this brings about that technical understanding of things. They want to know how things technically work, how they logically work, not speculative too much. Like it's not about feelings, I guess is a better way of putting it. So condensed into of accuracy as a suffix. So attacks are more accurate. So when you approach a situation, when you attack a situation, you want to find the best way of doing it. Elf mages use arcane abilities and clairvoyance and stuff like that. So they're summoning from within them the knowledge, the information, and they use that to attack the situation. All right, so if you are an ITP, I'm talking to you. We just talked about what an elf mage does, some of his abilities and stuff like that. And when you focus on all that, as I've been saying, you focus on one side, that means you're not looking at this other side. And the other side of introverted thinking is extroverted feeling, right? Internal logic, outer feelings and emotions and stuff like that. So it's sometimes an aspiration, of course. This is inferior function, but it's also called an aspirational function. So you see the good sides in it, but it's difficult for you to access. You have to get hit. You have to put yourself in this different situation that you are really not used to in order to get experience with extroverted feeling. Some things that could trip you up with it. Well, if you're looking at the feelings and the needs and the harmony in the outer world, then that means that you're looking for how people feel and stuff, but it's not your good side, right? You always work with internal logic. So when you have to look at the feelings in the situation, you might misread things. You might not know how to approach a social situation, or you don't want to do fluff talk and stuff like that because you don't see the point in it. It doesn't make sense to you to do it. Sometimes you might just kind of ignore how you emote. You might ignore your feelings and expressing your feelings. So that's another way that you repress your extroverted feeling. So the ISTP, if you were an ISTP, now I'm talking to you. So you're still an elf mage. That's cool. You still might have some difficulties with your armor and extroverted feeling, this dwarf healer aspect. But now your main hand is enchanted with presence. Pretty cool. Okay, so you have a way to access the outer world, the external world. Okay, so these perceiving functions are gathering information, right? Taking information, learning about things, and then informing your decision-making function of introverted thinking. So this dwarf warrior presence kind of aspect is all about immersion in the current world, using sensory details to understand things and then inform those decisions to make the logical choice and build this big model, this big picture of what is happening. And that is the best way for you to grow and to level up and approach these situations. But it's also pretty difficult, right? Going into the outer world and exploring the tangible details and stuff, and just throwing yourself into the situation is not always easy, especially for an elf like us. So sometimes you go to your other side, your offhand, and you start playing defensive to defend your elf mage mentality. So you can talk more easily to your inner world, right? So introverted intuition or vision is about seeing things from different perspectives and planning it out and kind of future forecasting and predicting where things will go based on your past experience. So staying in your past experiences in your subjective realm is easy for introverts. And so it feels good. It's not too much of a stretch to do. You can think about how things happened in your past and then make a decision based on that understanding. But as always, the offhand is not the best way to attack the world. If you're just, using this tome, this book, and like hitting people with it, you're not going to get too far. You should use your wand, right? But if you get stressed out, if you don't really know what to do in a social situation, or you don't want to just start playing with the physical world, then you can take a step back and start thinking about how things happened in your past and the patterns and how you grew from those, and use that as a logical way to motivate yourself to go out there. So let's look at a quote from an ISTP, Mr. Harrison Ford. "The focus and the concentration and the attention to detail that flying takes is a kind of meditation. I find it restful and engaging, and other things slip away." So he's talking in kind of some terms that extroverted sensing might use, like things slip away. Physically meditating could be kind of extroverted sensing, could also be introverted intuition. But basically, doing this really technical thing, like flying a plane, requires you to really understand how things are working in the concrete realm around you. And because he's accessing both of those, he's relaxed. It's not stressful for him because it puts him into his best state. So in the United States, it's 5.4% of the population that are ISTPs, according to Myers-Briggs.org. All right, now INTP. You're still an elf mage. Okay, you're still enchanting your armor with extroverted feeling, like a dwarf healer. But this time, you are attacking the world with different enchantments. You're, I guess, interpreting things with different enchantments. So extroverted intuition, like a dwarf hunter, is all about exploration and not looking at the concrete details, but looking at the abstract interpretations, the patterns that you can realize from those. And what could happen? What if you do this? What if you do that? Okay, what if this building falls over? How am I going to react with it? Blah, blah, blah. It's kind of a scary mental image there. Okay, so the best thing for you to do as an INTP is to do that, to exercise your ability to think outside the box and just bounce around and explore the world around you so that you can get more pieces of these puzzles and put them together and understand the world. Okay, so you're gathering all these pieces, put them together. Okay, you can see the full picture of what this thing really is and where it's going and how it influences other things in a logical way, in a technical way, as you elf mages do really well. But stepping out of yourself and exploring the realm of this unsure, abstract stuff is pretty difficult. So it's a lot easier for you to go and defend yourself with experience, with introverted sensing or an elf warrior type aspect of going into your past, thinking about it, re-envisioning what actually happened, and then comparing it to the present and be like, well, how does this compare? Is this the same as what happened in my past, or is it not? Can I trust it? Is it familiar? And as you can probably imagine, staying within that idea of, if it's not familiar, then I don't want to trust it, can keep you too much in your head. Keep you in your tower, right? Your mage tower. And the longer that you're in there, the more detached from reality you actually are, right? So it's important for you to explore the world, get out of your tower and walk around and start, slaying new mobs and talking to new people and all that fun stuff. Adventure. Go on an adventure. But when you get stressed out, when the world looks too abstract and you can't piece it together, then it's okay. Go back, look into your experiences, calm yourself down, and learn from those. And then when you feel better, start exploring again. No pressure. INTP, this is a quote from Richard Feynman. He says, "I would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers which can't be questioned." So this is a good look at INTPs because they're more about the question, having this information. It doesn't need to be the actual answer. It's how you internally reason, right? How you understand the world. Does it make sense to you? And so those are the questions that can't be answered. A dwarf mage might look more towards the answers that can't be questioned. They want to move things around and have it happen and work in the environment. Whereas introverted thinking, elf mages are okay with just exploring and just trying to get more information without an actual end game goal with it. Of course, knowledge is power, and that's good too. But in the United States, it's 3.3% 3% of the population that are INTPs, according to Myers-Briggs.org. All right, so your quest, it takes time and practice, but it is worth it. Go out there, find an elf mage, and talk to him or her, and try to understand his world or her world. Explore it with that person. They have a lot of great insight, and they are very relatable. You are very relatable if you are an elf mage, but you gotta access your armor sometimes, right? Let yourself loose a little bit, right? Explore a little bit, or just dive into the real world too. All right, so that was all geared up. A look at elf mages and the two blends of them. As always, thank you very much for watching. Good luck, have fun.